everybody. Welcome to Tech103 Inspiration Found. Today we are at the second episode. Just a recap of the first episode. The first episode was with Jubin and Pranav Agarwal. I am Sowmini, and today our guest speaker is Ashwin. Ashwin leads the product for Adtech. And welcome, Ashwin.
Thanks for having me, Sowmini.
There's a lot of buzz, a lot of conversations happening. There's a lot of investment happening in Adtech. Why is it so important?
You're absolutely right, Sowmini. So it is true that we've been investing in strengthening our Adtech stack over the last few years. And before I go into why, let me try explaining what we do, right? We build the stack to be able to show ads seamlessly within the Myntra shopping journey. And why is that important? And to whom is it important? Let me try answering that. First of all, the sellers. One side of the platform, which is sellers, right? We have so many sellers getting onboarded onto our platform. They need a construct through which they can be visible to our users. So ads provides that construct to be able to be visible to our users sooner, to be able to showcase their catalog sooner and get feedback on the quality of the catalog, on their performance, and make optimizations accordingly. And hence, through this, it becomes a very important tool for seller growth on the platform. Now, it can't be an important seller growth tool unless on the customer side, we are able to show ads seamlessly, at the same time surface relevant ads. So we do everything in our power to be able to make ads personalized to our end customers as well. And lastly, for the platform, why is it so attractive? It's simply attractive because it's a high margin business, right? It's a high margin business, and obviously if you grow this business, it helps the P&L. And obviously it's a very important profitability lever for the company. And hence, not just here, but in most commerce companies, you will see them investing in Adtech stack today.
I was just hearing, right? You said the last one, but I think the last one is the most important one. That's where the money comes from.
Absolutely.
Now, where do we go for the budget? That's really nice. You really kept me thinking.
I wish I had control over approvals.
So that really, helps me smoothly get into the first question that I had, right? What was the moment when you realized product management was your true calling, Ashwin?
So there was no one moment to just answer that question in a word. There's no one moment where I kind of realized that this is the career I want to continue doing. But for that, let me go to the past a little bit and talk about my career, right? So I was an electronics graduate out of my undergraduation and was getting placed in a large consumer electronics company. So I was under the impression I'm going to go do exciting embedded systems work and all that, right? But I ended up figuring out that I'm going to be doing software applications for smart televisions of everything, right? But interestingly, that exposed me to the world of software engineering, software development, software engineering processes and all that. But more excitingly, it exposed me to a function called product management. First of all, that's the first place where I understood what product management is, because there was this guy across the globe giving me requirements and changing requirements every 2 weeks and giving me feedback on it. So I was so curious to know who this guy is sitting across the globe. So that's how I got to know about product management. Then obviously spoke to multiple people, tried to figure out how to get into this function. Took the path at that point in time, at least about 15 years back, took the path of going to B school and trying to land PM roles post that. And then of course I did that. And my first job was obviously in what is today's largest OTT streaming platform. One of the first few product managers who joined there. Initially it was very exciting because there was scale in the product. Whatever I was launching was reaching millions of users. But then, see, the point is, it is exciting to see all the scale. So you're carried away by, I have been exciting work. But the fact is, the reason I say it didn't happen immediately is the fact that I was shipping a lot of features. And I was doing a lot of work with multiple stakeholders. But the fact is, many of the features got adoption but did not get impact, did not have impact. Some of them did not get adoption as well. Some of them, which seemed very low-hanging fruits, got a lot of impact. So I was starting to doubt whether all the decisions I was taking as a product manager was meaningful, whether I was adding value and all that. But slowly, as I progressed, it took me about 5 years into my product management career to realize that once I had a lot more width and more products to manage, or more problems to manage, user problems to manage, is when I realized I'm able to handle roadmaps better, take the right calls, build products for scale. And what gave me confidence actually is not just when I was doing well as an IC, but also when I could mentor other PMs successfully. So I would say it's a journey of about 5-6 years, which helped me decide that this is the career I want to continue doing the rest of my life at least.
That means the 10 years of rich experience you get in product, right? Now let's talk about career path, right? We hear people move to different roles, they want to take a next move and so on and so forth, right? Can you share some unconventional or non-linear paths, that you would have seen while becoming a product leader?
Sure. So I would say, I think all transitions, if I had to look at transitions into product management, the traditional or conventional paths that you obviously see are people who probably who've done work immediately after undergraduation, take the B school route, and then get into product management. Right? But that's a very unconventional. That's probably the most common in many paths. But what is increasingly becoming common these days is, like you're saying, the horizontal movement within organizations, right? Which is becoming more common. It's encouraging as well, because see, and I would split these transitions into two. I would split this into transitions happening from allied tech teams and non-tech teams. So when I say allied tech teams, these are people who are in functions like design, analytics, engineering, development, everything around the tech capability or tech building of the product itself, right? They are all people who work very closely with product managers in shipping the feature itself and shaping the feature itself. Not just shipping, but shaping the feature as well. So these people so they obviously have some transferable skills into product management because of their primary skill that they've been working on. But also people who do really well here are people who are able to bring in that customer centricity and problem solving skills in addition to the primary skill that they have, right? It's not important to just bring the transferable skill just to product management. So these are people who have been able to transition successfully. And I've been able to see through my last 7-8 years at least, I've been able to see analysts make great PMs, designers make great PMs. There is a notion that designers are very good creatively, but not very good as PMs. But you also need them in crafting great experience on the platform. People think folks in analytics are very focused on data. They're too objective for PMs, but they bring in the kind of insights that a lot of other PMs are not able to bring just because of their data orientation many a time. So these people transfer their primary skills, but are also able to add a layer of problem solving and customer centricity to be able to solve for being a good product manager, right? The other set of people, whom I call as non-tech teams, are people who bring, again, their primary skills. They bring in they are folks who are either from business finance, ops, core supply chain. We've seen people, I've seen people here at Myntra as well as in my earlier organizations who have been leaders in some of these parts and moved into product roles and moved into product leader roles and do very well because they bring in their understanding of the business. They have great understanding of the customer. They know what is the impact that initiatives the product has on the customer, and are able to prioritize well. They bring their strategic thinking as well. So they again bring a lot of transferable skills, but a common theme among people who transition and do very well is they remain problem focused, customer focused, and then take the right calls on behalf of the customer, right? So that's what I've seen.
That's very nice. That's very interesting, right? The way you spoke about transitions for folks from non-tech background, tech background, right? And there's somewhere I think we have covered the technical functional skills as well, right? I just wanted to understand, apart from this, what is that one skill or one or two skills that you would recommend, right? Which is beyond technical skills. What would that be?
Sure. Like you mentioned, I think for any product manager to succeed, there are a bunch of hard skills, as I call it, that are essential, be it problem solving, be it data orientation, be it design orientation, be it customer centricity in some form, be it tech understanding, very importantly, and all that. Definitely true. But what I have seen people who are very good at hard skills sometimes struggle. And struggle is the fact that they are great at their work, but they struggle essentially at stakeholder management and stakeholder influencing. What is needed? What is needed, right? To be good at stakeholder management or influencing needs, on one end of the spectrum, it needs empathy to be able to understand the motivations of your stakeholders, right? And be able to see if you can align your goals. On the other end of the spectrum, it needs conviction. So when I said two two parts of the spectrum. I said one end of the spectrum is where you understand and add objectives of other stakeholders into it so that you are able to accept other inputs into it. The other part is where you are sure that this is the right thing to do, but you need to convince stakeholders about it. So that's why those two parts of it, I think that is one skill that a lot of PMs, how would you improve on this, right? This is one of those skills that you can only improve by doing more and more, by taking help from, by reaching out to people, by reaching out to leaders, reaching out to mentors, and trying to understand how you would tackle situations. This is not something that you will take a course on and just improve on, right? So this is one of those skills that you keep doing more and more. I also will encourage a lot of PMs to be more open to going and discussing about this to other peers or even seniors, and taking feedback and help on how they handle situations. But that's one thing I see outside the hard skills, so to say.
I think very beautifully you've put this across, right, Ashwin? The way you've told, I think we've spoken a lot about product managers, right? Now the transition to a product leader is what I would want to know, and I'm sure our audience will be waiting to know about that, right? One thing I also want to comment is the transition from doing to leading is huge. So, how did your technical functional background, right, influence your early years of product manager? And what did you consciously unlearn, to succeed in your leadership role is what I want to understand.
Sure. See, I think there's the first part of the question where you're talking about how my tech background helped me better as a PM early in my life. My tech background as an engineer helped me understand how systems came together. So that's the only transferable skill that I had gotten from there into coming into being a PM. Obviously, it's also exciting, especially when I was in my first job as a PM was in OTT. The excitement of how something that's, for example, live sports. How live sports happens. It's very exciting because there is a transmission to satellite, there's analog signals becoming digital signals, and then that transferring, that getting decoded, and then there's a process of decoding, and from there that getting streamed onto mobile phones through CDNs and all that. The whole technology was very exciting, and I could relate to it because of my past experience with the consumer electronics giant. But I still had to learn a lot about focusing on the customer problem, and not getting carried away by the tech feasibility, but focusing on what is the right experience for the customer and whether the feature added is adding value to the customer and how to validate whether that's happened and all that. That was about experience as a product manager, right? And how my tech background influenced it. I think to your question on what it takes or what are some of the things that you have to start unlearning when you move from a product manager to a product leader, right? I think there are a bunch of things. First thing is like any IC to manager kind of a role, right? Now, as a product leader, you're probably taking care of a few more products than you were taking care of as a product manager itself. Correct. And you also have people reporting into you who are in there to take care of this, run their specific roadmaps, right? So one of the things is to understand that you're not the doer as the product manager, right? Who is executing a lot of stuff. So it's important to take a step back and not micromanage and go into every situation, but to observe, step back and observe how your team is performing. The role becomes of where you can add value to your team. And by zooming out a little and seeing whether the team is able to do well across multiple skills that we spoke about. Where is it that they need help? Where do they need guidance? And also helping keep the team on course on all important decisions. Being part of all doesn't mean take hands off. I didn't mean keep complete hands off. Need to be attached to the problem that's happening. But the important thing is to strike the balance between doing where required and showing. Doing to show and not doing, and observing and letting the team learn or guiding the team where required without getting into nuances, right? That's something that takes time to kind of adjust to, especially not just for me, but for a lot of product leaders that you'll hear outside as well speak about is how do they make the transition from doing themselves everything to, just managing people and guiding where required. That's the big thing. As well as also zooming out, so how do you now start becoming a little more strategic than tactical? That's the second part, I would say. Yeah.
I think that's really great, right? The way you've told the entire transition from a product manager to a product leader, and how do you kind of from doing to lead, right? And I also take a little cue from you, Ashwin, that a team, I think we need to be together, just not during the happy times. Sometimes it's also when there's a low. Okay, when there's a period which is low. And now that is alluding to my next question.
Sure.
Right? Can you share one instance or your experience rather, I don't put it that way, where you actually faced significant failure also, and when the product didn't land the way it was expected, right?
Yeah.
So one is I wanted to understand, what did you learn from it? Second, being the product leader, right? How did you take your team along with this also is what I want to understand.
Very, very interesting question. See, two things come to mind, but I'll talk about something that's more recent, and that's happened at Myntra. So this happened me within 3 or 4 months of joining Myntra. I was obviously new to e-commerce as an ecosystem itself, and there was this feature which is called deferred online payment experience, which is what we called it as a project internally. The problem statement was there were a good percentage of payments which fail, and hence orders could not get placed.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right, on our payment page. Now, when payment fails, we already know that means a customer has tried paying, but the payment has failed for various reasons. It could be at most of the times it was a tech error somewhere, right? So the obvious thing that we wanted to do was to try and see if we can process the order even though the payment has failed, and then convert the order to become a cash on delivery kind of an order, right? From the sound of it, it seemed a very logical feature to build, isn't it? I'm saying it's a great customer experience because the order is placed and it's just made a COD order. So if it comes and gets delivered, the customer pays at the doorstep. That is what it was. So we launched, we thought, great, this is the right thing to build, everything is great, let's launch, let's roll out but like we do in Myntra, most features are A/B tested, which is we run it as an A/B experiment and see what has it added value to our customers on the platform. Now we rolled it out, we thought what we call as all forward metrics, revenue is going to go up, we thought orders is going to go up, obviously because all the errors are now going to get translated into an order eventually, right? It did, mind you, and it's very exciting. So it's very tempting to see that the metrics that you thought will improve are improving. Okay, so we went in, we said, oh, it's launched, all the forward metrics are looking good. But then there were a few stakeholders who came and said, and I was new, came and said, have you looked at the reverse metrics? And I said, what reverse metrics? Did you look at what has happened to returns, what has happened to RTO and all that? And what had happened is what we call as RTO, which is return at doorstep, had increased, right? So, and we thought we are increasing number of orders and hence increasing revenue, but with RTOs or the return RTOs increasing, we were essentially adding cost to the platform, right? So net we were not making any money. That's what the math turned out to be. And this was an eye opener. So first thing is to go and accept. So first thing we had to do, as I had to do, is to go and to the larger audience where we had said, hey, the forward metrics are looking very good. I had to go and communicate saying, yes, this experiment is not a success because the return metrics have not worked. And mind you, we had published the result of the metrics to a larger audience. So the first thing is to go accept saying, yes, we have learned something new. Hence, we'll have to roll it back. We have to understand what's happened. So the reason was the returns at doorstep was higher simply because a lot of users did not know that the order had got placed, even though the payment failed. They saw the payment got failed, so they realized the order did not get placed. Then we realized there was a lot of duplicate orders, so they placed the order again, thinking the order has not been placed. So this we of course learned later. So learnings for me was, at least from this, was there were two things. One is which I always say is a very important skill for many product managers to learn, is product managers ship features, but how to take it to market is very, very important. How do you create awareness among your features that there is this feature that's gone live? So did we do a good job of telling the customer that we have released such a feature, your order has been placed, despite the payment not processing? And secondly, for me, as one of my biggest learnings was there is a second order impact of every feature that you release. So what is the second order impact of the feature that you have rolled out is something it's important to understand. I think it might be, people call it out in PM 101 saying key metrics to be measured in all the features that you roll out. But This was one of the key metrics, which I learned the hard way, but it's also learning. But we learned and we figured out, we rolled out versions of it, enhancements of it later to improve the RTOs, and eventually now it's available to a lot of customers.
Ashwin, I must say, a fantastic example to share. I think our folks will take away a lot of learning from here, right? And now that leads to me beautifully to my next question.
Sure.
And my next question is, it's clear that building product is a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? What is your advice to folks who would have felt overwhelmed and burnt out, when the demands of, when the product is too demanding?
Yeah. No, I think fair question. And I think I'm sure that many PMs relate to this. As a product manager, one of the biggest challenges is that you get requests from multiple fronts, right? And there is always a temptation to be shipping a lot more and being proud of the fact that you've shipped a lot more. But it's important, I would say, to tie all this back to the key objectives that you as a product manager is trying to achieve. What are your key goals, right? What are your OKRs, as we call it at Myntra, right? So it's important to tie it back. I think the first thing a few things, few tips that might help is to retro every quarter with your leader and see whether all the features that you're rolling out, you retrospect to see what have you rolled out, what state are they in, are they adding value. In fact, I would say something that's counterintuitive is to look at all features that have been shipped. If there are features that are not adding value and creating a lot of noise, to probably roll it back. It's counterintuitive, but it's important to do that as well, to kind of stay focused. So things like that, where you kind of take a break and look back, retrospect, helps you kind of stay on course and see whether whatever efforts that we are taking is in the right direction. Secondly, I think at a request level, it's important that it is very possible that most product managers get overwhelmed saying there's so many things to do. And to be objective and tie them back, like I said, to key objectives, or whether there is a problem statement to solve, whether there's a customer's problem to solve there, and to spend time on the problem definition. That's why we at Myntra say that we should spend a lot of time on the problem definition here, right? Will help you focus and prioritize much, much better. Lastly, which is more work related, it is important, I would say, for most folks, not just the product managers, but all of us, to take breaks, spend quality family time, spend time with loved ones, and be able to rejuvenate. Like we are doing closer to the festival time, we should spend a lot more time with our family, because when you take breaks, you're able to reflect better, you're able to think as an individual better in general, from my experience.
With this, we come to an end to our first segment. Let's go to the second segment. And it's a very interesting segment, Ashwin.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start the rapid fire round.
Wow.
It has to be rapid. And as soon as I complete the question is where I would expect your answer.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
Coming to the first question. Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Email or Slack?
Slack.
The most overhyped tech buzzword right now?
Used to think it was AI some time back. Not anymore. Now I think digital transformation is what I keep hearing from people. I think that's probably the one.
Okay. What's a book every aspiring product manager should read?
Because you're asking aspiring product managers, I'll probably give two.
Sure.
If you're aspiring to be a product manager, you're obviously giving product management interviews. So one thing that helped me earlier was this book called Cracking the PM Interview, very well-known book by two PM leaders then.
I see. Oh, wow.
Jackie Bavaro and I think Ms. McDowell, if I'm not wrong. And the other one, which is a good read, was 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel.
Okay, that's great. Going to next, a product you wish you had built.
That's an interesting one. So I love going to live events, especially music events, and hence end up using a lot of these products like Skillbox and Insider.in. I really wish I had built one of them. Skillbox, for example, is one of those products. Yeah.
Really interesting. I think I've never heard this. That's really nice. The last one. One piece of advice you would give your younger self, just starting out.
I thought so much about brand of the company I'm entering into, kind of work I should do, and all that. I think I would tell my younger self to have experimented a little more, both in terms of products that I was doing, companies that I was doing. It just adds to a lot more experience, I've realized. Yeah, so that's the only thing. Experiment a little more, I would have told my younger self.
Thank you, Ashwin. I think it was delightful talking to you. With this, we come to the end of the second episode. Stay tuned for more.